Hi everyone. This is gonna be a short story time, and it's one of the craziest experiences I've ever gone through in my life. And I survived, so I think it's really cool to be able to share. Maybe someone out there has a similar story and can relate. Hopefully not, because it was really, really frightening, and I honestly got very, very lucky at the end of the day. And there was certain factors that helped and contributed to me getting out alive and in one piece. So here I am, and it actually happened in Brazil in an island called Florianopolis, super beautiful place. And it's an island that has like a lot of city, a lot of people, but also a lot of nature, a lot of hiking trails. That's one of the reasons why many people go, has a lot of beaches. It's definitely one of the reasons why I went. And there was a few trails that I wanted to do. One of them I had been wanting to do it for a few days, but it wasn't until one of my friends said like, "Okay, let's go. I'll go with you." So I was originally going to go with him, and I was actually at the beach waiting for him the day off. And I waited for him maybe like an hour, 2 hours, something around there. And he texted me and he said that he won't be able to come because something came up, something happened with one of his friends, and he wasn't going to be able to come. So I was left with the decision of what to do. Should I still go on the hike? Should I wait another day? But I was already there. I felt like I had already wasted so much time waiting for him. And I really wanted to do the hike, and I kind of have this stubborn side to me that when I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And I kind of didn't want to depend on him, depend on a guy to go. So a part of me was just like, fuck it, go, you'll be fine. It's a short hike. It's quite popular. So I figured there's going to be people on the way. And I also, I'm very used to doing things alone. I have no problem doing things by myself. So I think that's one of the reasons that also kind of pushed me to just say, fuck it. And I started the hike. Little did I know what was gonna come, but it's life, right? We can never imagine those things happening. But basically, I started the hike, and it wasn't too long before I got to the first viewpoint. And when I got there, I started feeling a little bit weird, like a little bit sick. I don't know how to describe it, like a headache. And I figured I had been under the sun for a long time that day already. It was really hot, a lot of sun. So I think maybe I'm a little bit dehydrated. I'm just gonna like take it chill. So I sat there, I was appreciating the view, drinking some water. I started even to do some yoga. I was like, maybe that's gonna help. And it actually did. By the time I finished my short yoga practice, I was feeling great. And by that time, it was already almost the sunset. And when the sunset hour hit, I felt like I was just in heaven. Like everything around me transformed, the colors, the beauty, everything was so beautiful. And I think I was so in awe and like so present in that moment that I definitely stayed longer than I should have. And it's funny because it's one of the things that I always try to be so good with, which is go back with enough daylight so then you're not stuck in the darkness, get lost, etc., etc. But this time I did everything wrong, and I admit it. Usually with the things I'm super careful for, which that's one of them, and the other one is having a phone fully charged or with a portable charger so that if anything happens, you have access to a phone. But for some reason, everything led to one thing led to the next. I did everything wrong, and you live and you learn, I guess. But I was so, taken by that moment in the sunset up there. And I was like actually the only one. So it was super peaceful. I think I only saw like one couple um, cross by there during that time. But basically, I started thinking like, okay, like now I should go. There was still enough daylight out, so it wasn't like it was dark. But as soon as I started to go down, so basically I had like less than half an hour of the walk, I think. I only had to like basically make my way down to Barra da Lagoa. That's the name of the place where the hike finished, because I started at one place and finished at another, so it wasn't like it was a loop. And once I start to descend, I start to see that it's a forest, literally. Like I was pretty surprised because the rest of the hike was just like small bushes, like you could see everything, you know, it was like not a forest at all. So I wasn't expecting the last part of the trail to literally be just covered in trees. So there was light up there, but by the time I started going down, there was no light because of all the trees. And it was basically pretty dark. So the moment that I started walking and saw how dark it was, I instantly started feeling uneasy and just give me that feeling of like, oh, I shouldn't be here, you know? And to make it even better, soon after having that thought, I started seeing that the path was just closing in front of me. Like there was no longer like a marked, like set path that I could clearly see in front of me. So the moment I see that, I start thinking like, okay, like this is interesting. And I just walked a little bit in front, just like, okay, maybe like I just have to like get through these trees and I'll see the path. And I didn't even walk that much, probably just like a few steps. But by the time I turned back, like I looked back and I no longer could see the path. Like I totally disoriented in myself in a way that had never happened to me before. Like I cannot even explain it. Like it just, before I knew it, I found myself lost. And I tried to walk back, like through where I walked back, but I just looked around and it was just all trees. Like there was no sign, there was no like visible sign of a path anywhere close to me. So I started panicking in this moment. I started freaking out, you know, my heart started beating faster. I start thinking like, oh shit. And that's the moment when my mind starts to go on a trip, starts to go into like irrational mode, you know? And I think only people that have gotten lost before or have gotten through a similar situation can understand the kind of mindset that you go into, which is like you're no longer rational. And for me was the thought of thinking like, I'm lost, like I'm gonna be one of these people, I'm in this situation now, how am I gonna get out, you know? So you're just overwhelmed by all of these thoughts. And not only that, but also the adrenaline, like all over my body. I had so much adrenaline and I could just feel myself going into this survival mode, like physically, mentally, emotionally. I went into this like survival mode. So I just kept like walking and running. Like I started panicking so badly that I didn't know what to do. Like looking back, it's so stupid because that's exactly what you're not supposed to do. But that's exactly what I did, you know? And I started thinking, okay, I need to get myself out of this situation. I have done everything wrong and put myself here. Now I have to do everything right to get myself out. So in that moment, the first thing I think of is to get my phone out. And again, this is something to make it even more comical. Now looking back, I see my phone and it was on 5%. And I always, in that whole trip in Brazil, every day I had a portable charger with me, except for this day. Like I actually had it with me, but I wasn't able to charge it the night before for whatever reason. So I only had 5%. And my phone, when I have 5%, that's gonna last me less than 5 minutes. Like it just never lasts. So I was like, I need to act and I need to act fast. So I was trying to look at the map, trying to orient myself, you know, because I knew that I wasn't extremely far. So I was like, maybe I can find my way with the map. But I kept looking around me and there was just so many trees and like the ground was super uneven. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this with 5% battery and with darkness, you know. It makes a whole difference when it's dark. It's scarier. Like you cannot really like orient yourself. You cannot really see what's in the ground. So I knew that that wasn't really gonna work. And in that moment, I decided I need to call my friend, the one that was supposed to go on the hike with me. So I called him. He didn't pick up. He picked up on the third try. And when he picked up, I'm crying. I'm screaming. I'm telling him, you need to send help. This is serious. And you need to send someone here. So I sent him my live location. I sent him a picture of what I could see, which was this like big like hill. And I hang up because I wanted to save some of the battery for later. And in this moment, I was unable to just stay put there because I was like, okay, there's the possibility of me having to wait till the morning here. So I could not imagine myself waiting there in the ground with so much stuff, and they call it mato in Brazil, like bushes and cobras. There's a lot of cobras in this part of Brazil as well. So I was like, there's no way I'm gonna wait here. Like I can't. So I start like walking and running some more. Like mind you, I'm still in like full like panic mode. And I find this like huge rock, which I have no idea how I climbed it. I don't know. I think it was the adrenaline in me. I just climbed up there and I sat there and I felt comfortable enough to wait there because it wasn't like in the ground. No animals could technically get to me, and I could see like a little bit of the sky. So I didn't feel like I was in the middle of the forest, which I think helped to calm me down a little bit. But right in that moment, hundreds of mosquitoes start to bite me, and I could hear them, I could feel them. Mosquitoes are the creature that I hate the most in this planet. So in that moment, I really felt like this was just the biggest punishment. Like, what have I done in life to deserve this? I was getting bit and I didn't have any repellent. I didn't have anything other than like a scarf to cover my arms with. I was wearing shorts. And by this point, I don't even have my shoes. I don't have my water bottle. Like, I dropped everything when I was in the forest, like trying to get through. My clothes were getting like tangled in the branches of the trees. It was actually like the definition of a shit show. And I was just there waiting. Like, I tried to call my friend, and in that moment, my phone dies. So at that moment, I'm kind of like in the hands of God. Like, I have no idea what's gonna happen to me. And for those next hours, I was just sitting there with my thoughts, which consisted of a roller coaster of going from hope, like having hope, like, okay, like I called my friend, he's gonna send help, like I trust that he's calling someone, I trust that there's people, this is their work, they're gonna know like how to save me, I bet they've done it before. It was going from that to extreme intense fear and complete like belief that that was gonna be my end. Like, I kept thinking, this is it, I'm gonna end up in the news, I'm gonna destroy my family's lives, my friends are not gonna be able to believe this. I got myself here. Basically, I walked myself to my own death. And I couldn't stop thinking of I'm one of those people that's gonna end up as a statistic, of people that disappear, people that get lost. And I convinced myself that that was really, really high possibility. But I think I kept a little bit of hope within me. So for those I think it was like 2 to 3 hours, just consisted of endless thinking, endless fear. And I heard some noises finally, like some people yelling. Instantly, I knew that they were looking for me. So I started screaming, I started crying. And then there was one guy, I saw him, he was pointing a light at me because he was in a much higher spot. And he saw me, so I was like, okay, like I'm safe now. And took like, I think, I don't know, maybe like 10 to 15 minutes for the guys to actually make it to where I was, because there were so many trees and rocks and like they couldn't find their way. They literally have to come and like carve it out, and with a machete. So it took them like 10 to 15 minutes, but once they got to me, I started hugging them, started crying. I couldn't believe it. They were like angels in my eyes in that moment, and to this day I was so relieved. They start asking me questions, and they start telling me that that actually happens to a lot of people in this trail, like in this part of the trail, because a lot of the times they don't upkeep the trails too much. So like they become, they close, like the trees and everything grows. So it becomes really tricky to be able to find the trails. So they told me I wasn't the first person, but they told me that I got super, super lucky, because the worst part is not getting lost, but the worst part of it is that a lot of people fall or end up hurting themselves, end up getting attacked by an animal. They told me there's a lot of cobras, a lot of spiders, or a lot of people just simply like fall and break a leg, or you can fall and break your head and then you're immobile, then that's it for you. So really, really dangerous. You know, it's not just the fear of getting lost, but what can happen, you know. And I don't know if I would have been able to make it out alive, let's say the next day with daylight, because of that reason. Because, yeah, maybe if I keep walking down, I'll make it somewhere, but you never know what can happen in between, you know, on the way there. And especially considering how uneven that ground was, like, I will never get over that, because I would walk and, like, at some point, my leg went all the way down, like there was like a hole, my leg was scraped. I came out with so many scratches on my legs. I look like seriously concerning. Like up until very recently, my legs started to look normal because I had cuts all over them, and really, really scary stuff. Honestly, the only bright thing that came from it, obviously, like the lesson was learned, but also the appreciation for life that you come out with after an experience like that. Like you just feel so grateful for life itself, like no other experiences, unless you're really like in risk of losing your life, can make you come out feeling as grateful just to be alive, you know, to be on this planet and to have survived whatever the hell you just went through, you know. And definitely an eye opener. I'm definitely a little bit like traumatized, a little bit scared after, especially like going on hikes by myself, because once you go through something, you know, it really like stays in one way or another in your mind, in your body, you know. Like, so I think it will be interesting to see in the future if I'll be able to go on any type of adventures like that on my own. But anyways, I hope this never happens to anyone that's listening. Please take care of yourself, make good decisions, don't be as trusting as I am, because I realize that's one of my problems. I am too trusting sometimes, you know, and think that things are just gonna work out best case scenario, but clearly that's not always the case. So happy to be here, and I am thankful for sure, but hopefully never again we'll go through something like that. So thanks for listening, take care of yourself, lots of love.